Saint Augustine lecture on the Gospel of John, Tractatus 4 following. And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" For they knew that Elijah was to precede Christ. For to no Jew was the name of Christ unknown. They did not think that he was the Christ, but they did not think that Christ would not come at all. When they were hoping that he would come, they were offended at him when he was present, and stumbled at him as on a low stone. For he was as yet a small stone, already indeed cut out of the mountain without hands, as said Daniel the prophet, that he saw a stone cut out of the mountain without hands. But what follows? And that stone, says he grew and became a great mountain and filled the whole face of the earth. Daniel chapter 2 verse 34 and 35. Mark then, my beloved brethren, what I say. Christ before the Jews was already cut out from the mountain. The prophet wishes that by the mountain should be understood the Jewish kingdom. But the kingdom of the Jews had not filled the whole face of the earth. The stone was cut out from thence, because from thence was the Lord born on his advent among men, and wherefore without hands, because without the cooperation of man did the Virgin bear Christ. Now then was that stone cut out without hands before the eyes of the Jews. But it was humble, not without reason, because not yet had that stone increased and filled the whole earth, that he showed in his kingdom, which is the church, with which he has filled the whole face of the earth. Because then it had not yet increased, they stumbled at him as at a stone. And that happened in them which is written, Whosoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever that stone shall fall, it will grind them to powder. Luke chapter 20 verse 18. At first they fell upon him lowly. As the lofty one he shall come upon them, but that he may grind them to powder when he comes in his exaltation, he first broke them in his lowliness. They stumbled at him and were broken. They were not ground but broken. He will come exalted and will grind them. But the Jews were to be pardoned because they stumbled at the stone which had not yet increased. What sort of persons are those who stumble at the mountain itself? Already you know who they are of whom I speak. Those who deny the church diffused through the whole world do not stumble at the lowly stone, but at the mountain itself, because the stone became as it grew. The blind Jews did not see the lowly stone, but how great blindness not to see the mountain. They saw him then lowly, and did not know him. He was pointed out to them by a lamp, for in the first place he, than whom no greater had arisen of those born of women, said, I am not the Christ. It was said to him, Are you Elijah? He answered, I am not. For Christ sends Elijah before him, and he said, I am not, and occasioned a question for us. For it is to be feared lest men insufficiently understanding think that John contradicted what Christ said. For in a certain place, when the Lord Jesus Christ said certain things in the gospel regarding himself, his disciples answered him, How then say the scribes, that is, those skilled in the law, that Elijah must first come? And the Lord said, Elijah is already come, and they have done unto him what they listed. And if you wish to know, John the Baptist is he. Matthew chapter 17 verse 10 to 13 and Matthew chapter 11 verse 14 in the Vulgate. The Lord Jesus Christ said, Elijah is already come, and John the Baptist is he. But John, being interrogated, confessed that he was not Elijah, in the same manner that he confessed that he was not Christ. And as his confession that he was not Christ was true, so was his confession that he was not Elijah. How then shall we compare the words of the herald with the words of the judge? Away with the thought that the herald speaks falsehood, for that which he speaks he hears from the judge. Wherefore then did he say, I am not Elijah, and the Lord, he is Elijah? Because the Lord Jesus Christ wished in him to prefigure his own advent and to say that John was in the spirit of Elijah. And what John was to the first advent, that will Elijah be to the second advent. As there are two advents of the judge, so are there two heralds. The judge indeed was the same, but the heralds too, but not two judges. It was needful that in the first instance the judge should come to be judged. He sent before him his first herald. He called him Elijah, because Elijah will be in the second advent what John was in the first.